Carter Dean was the picture of success, CEO of a luxury Las Vegas hotel, polished, powerful, and utterly alone. One night, while strolling past a lantern festival outside his own hotel, a bold young boy held up a glowing paper lantern and shouted, "Dad, light it!" The word "Dad" hit Carter like a thunderclap. The boy's name? Noah. 9 years old, sharp-eyed, selling handmade lanterns on the street. Carter froze. Noah's eyes mirrored someone he once knew, someone he'd left behind. Rachel, his ex. Strong, proud, and gone for over a decade. Carter never knew he had a son. He never got her letters, because his sister Susan made sure he didn't. She shredded them, all to protect the family empire. But now, Carter's heart is torn open. He buys every lantern Noah has, then searches for Rachel. As secrets unravel, Carter risks everything, canceling a major deal to fund Noah's dream, a lantern workshop for local kids. Will Rachel forgive him? Can Carter light the path back to the family he never knew he had? One lantern, one boy's voice, and a CEO's chance at redemption. Watch how a single word, Dad, changed everything. Subscribe to see this heartfelt story unfold. The Las Vegas Strip shimmered like a river of stars below Carter Dean's penthouse suite. From floor-to-ceiling windows, he watched people drift beneath neon signs, their laughter a distant hum. Inside, the room was silent, polished, perfect, like him, on the outside. Carter, 42, CEO of the famed Mariposa Hotel, stood in a crisp navy suit, tie loosened just enough to signal charm. But the man behind the tailored fabric was unraveling. He sipped his scotch, though it burned more than usual. Tonight marked 10 years since he last saw Rachel, and yet her voice still lived in his memory. Fiery, soft, unforgettable. A knock at the door broke the silence. His assistant peeked in. "Sir, the Lantern Festival is drawing a crowd outside the lobby entrance. Should we keep security tight?" Carter nodded. "Let them enjoy. That's the point." The hotel sponsored the event yearly. He'd signed the check. He hadn't set foot outside for it in years. But tonight, something pulled him. 10 minutes later, he stepped onto the street. Warm desert air wrapped around him. Paper lanterns swayed in the breeze, bright reds, yellows, oranges. Children darted between stalls. The air smelled of sugar, fried dough, and melted wax. Carter paused at the corner. That's when he saw him. A boy, maybe 9, crouched near the curb with a folding table stacked with handcrafted lanterns. He wore a dusty blue hoodie, sleeves pushed to his elbows, nimble fingers adjusting string handles with quiet focus. Something in the boy's face caught Carter off guard. The angle of his jaw, the shape of his eyes. The boy looked up. Their eyes locked. "Dad!" the boy shouted. "Light it!" Carter's heart stopped. People turned. The boy held up a lantern with both hands, red, with golden edges and careful folds. "Come on, light it. You said you would." Carter took a step back. "What?" The boy frowned, confused. "You're not—" "Oh." Silence fell between them. The boy blinked, then looked down, embarrassed. "Sorry. Thought you were someone else." Carter stared at the lantern. His chest tightened. "What's your name, kid?" "Noah," the boy muttered, setting the lantern back on the table. "You buying, or just staring?" Carter crouched. "You made these?" "Yep. My mom taught me. She says they carry wishes." Carter picked one up. A tiny N was penciled under the base. "Which wish is in this one?" The boy grinned, then hesitated. "Can't say. Doesn't work if you say it out loud." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a lighter. Carter clicked it. The flame caught the tiny candle inside the lantern. A warm glow spread through the red folds. Noah's face lit up. "Thanks, mister." But Carter was frozen. The lantern's soft light danced across the boy's cheek, highlighting something achingly familiar. "Your mom," Carter said slowly. "What's her name?" Noah's mouth clamped shut. "I should go." "Wait," Carter said, standing quickly. Does she know you're out here?" "Doesn't matter." Noah grabbed 2 more lanterns. "You want one or not?" Carter nodded, still dazed. "I'll take them all." Noah stared. "All? That's like $30. Carter pulled out his wallet, handed over 100. Noah's eyes widened. "You're serious?" "Very." The boy stuffed the bills into his pocket. "Thanks. I can finally get more glue sticks." As Carter turned to leave, he glanced back. The red lantern swayed gently in his hand. Behind him, Noah's voice floated through the crowd. "You really looked like him, you know." "Who?" Carter asked, not turning. "My dad." Carter froze. Again. The lantern flickered in his grip. Back in his suite, he set the glowing red lantern on his table. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "Rachel," he whispered. The boy's eyes, his voice. Could it be? Carter's hand trembled. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in a decade. The red lantern still flickered on Carter's coffee table, casting soft shadows across the glass. He sat in silence, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, staring at the glow as if it could speak. His phone buzzed. No name, just a number burned into his memory. He answered. "Rachel?" Silence on the other end, then a breath. "Why are you calling me?" Her voice. Just hearing it made his throat tighten. "I saw a boy tonight," Carter said slowly, "selling lanterns outside Mariposa. His name was Noah." A pause. "What did he say to you?" Rachel asked, calm but edged with something sharp. "He called me Dad, then said I wasn't him." Carter leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Rachel, he looked like me." She didn't respond right away, then softly, "You were never supposed to see him." The words knocked the air from his chest. "You knew?" he whispered. "You knew I didn't know, and you still, Rachel, why?" "I tried," she said. "Years ago, I wrote, I called, but I never got through, and then your sister, Susan, she called me." Carter sat upright. "Susan?" "She told me," Rachel continued, voice cracking, "that you didn't want kids, that you said I was a mistake, that I should disappear and stop dragging your name into my mess." Carter stood, pacing now. "Rachel, I never said that. I never knew." "I figured that out too late," she murmured. "By then, I had Noah. I raised him alone. I didn't want him to grow up thinking he wasn't wanted." His hand trembled. "You think I wouldn't have wanted him? You left, Carter. No calls, no explanation. Just gone." "I left because Susan told me you moved on," he snapped. "Said you met someone else. She told me not to chase ghosts." Rachel laughed bitterly. "She played both of us." There was silence again. Then Carter said quietly, "I want to see him." Rachel exhaled. "He doesn't know who you are. He deserves to." A long pause. Then, "I'm not promising anything. But if you're serious, meet us tomorrow. Sunset. The park off Fremont. Bring nothing. No suits. Just show up." The call ended. Carter lowered the phone, staring at the lantern. Its red folds glowed like a heartbeat in the quiet. The next evening, Carter waited on a park bench as the sun sank behind the skyline. Kids chased each other in the grass. A saxophonist played down the path. The breeze smelled like warm pavement and lemon trees. Then he saw them. Rachel, in jeans and a soft sweater, her hair pulled back, and Noah, bounding beside her with a folded paper lantern under his arm. He froze when he saw Carter. "You again?" Noah called. Carter stood. "Yeah, me again." Noah stepped closer, squinting. You're not wearing the suit." Carter smiled faintly. "Not today." Rachel hung back, arms crossed. Noah opened his backpack and pulled out a new lantern, this one blue, with silver stars glued on. "Made it last night," he said proudly. "Want to light it?" Carter knelt, pulled out a lighter. "I'd be honored." The flame caught. The lantern glowed gently, silver stars twinkling against the darkening sky. Rachel watched, wary. Noah tilted his head. "You never said your name." "Carter," he replied. The boy studied him. "You look like me." "Kinda." Carter's voice caught. "I know." Noah looked at his mom. "You okay?" Rachel nodded once. Noah turned back to Carter. "You coming to the next lantern night?" Carter met Rachel's eyes. She didn't speak, but didn't stop him either. He looked back at the boy. "Yeah, kid, I'll be there." Noah grinned, lantern glowing between them. As dusk settled, the blue light shimmered on their faces. Two matching silhouettes, one shared glow. And, for the first time in years, Carter felt something quietly return. Hope. The next morning, Carter stood by the large window in his suite, coffee untouched in his hand. Below, the city pulsed with life. Taxi horns, flashing billboards, tourists flooding sidewalks. But his mind wasn't in Las Vegas. It was in a small park where a boy held a lantern covered in silver stars. He dialed a number. "Susan," he said when she answered. "I need to talk to you, in person." "Carter, it's 8 a.m. What's going on?" "I'm coming to the house." Before she could object, he ended the call. Susan lived in a private villa just off Summerlin Ridge. Carter had bought it for her after their father passed. She'd always claimed she protected his legacy, that she knew what was best. Today, he wanted answers. She opened the door in silk pajamas, holding a green smoothie. "This better be important," she said, walking toward the kitchen. Carter followed her. "It's about Rachel and the boy I saw last night." Susan didn't turn. "Rachel? I haven't heard that name in years." "He's her son. His name is Noah. He called me Dad." That made her pause. "I want to know," Carter pressed. "Did you ever talk to Rachel after I left her?" She faced him, voice calm but firm. "Yes." He blinked. "You told me she moved on. She didn't deserve to drag you down. You had just inherited the Mariposa. She came from nothing, Carter. That was never going to work. You told her I didn't want kids," he said, "that I hated the idea of a family." Susan's jaw tightened. "You shredded her letters," he said quietly. "Didn't you?" A beat of silence. "I did," she finally admitted. "I intercepted the first one, then the second. I read them. She said she was pregnant, that she loved you. I couldn't let that derail your career." Carter stepped back, breath sharp. "You had no right." "I saved you," she snapped. "You were grieving Dad. You were crumbling. She was a distraction." "She was my choice." Susan's eyes narrowed. "And now what? You want to go play house? Be some hero after 9 years?" "I want to know my son," Carter said, his voice steady now. "And I want him to know me." Susan didn't argue this time. She just turned away and said, "It's too late, Carter." But he knew she was wrong. Later that day, Carter met Rachel outside a small community center in North Vegas. The building was faded, its sign barely legible, but inside it buzzed with color. Children painting, folding paper, laughter echoing off the walls. Rachel crossed her arms when she saw him. "This is where Noah comes after school," she said. "He makes lanterns here. It keeps his hands busy, helps him focus." "I want to help," Carter said. "You being here is already too much." "I'm not trying to take over," he said. "I'm just trying to earn space." She studied him. "I talked to Susan," he added. Rachel's brow lifted. "She admitted everything. The lies, the letters, All of it. Rachel looked away, jaw tense. I figured, but it was too late to fix back then, so I raised him without you. You shouldn't have had to. She didn't respond. Carter glanced at the kids inside. Let me fund this place. I'm not asking for a second chance with you, just with him. Rachel hesitated. Then Noah appeared at the door, holding a lantern shaped like a dragon. Mom, look what I made. Rachel turned, forcing a smile. Carter crouched. Did you really make that? Every fold, Noah said proudly. Ms. Tanya helped with the wings. Carter smiled. That's amazing, kiddo. Noah grinned, then added shyly, You coming back tomorrow? Carter looked at Rachel. She didn't answer, but this time she didn't stop him either. I'll be here, Carter said softly. Every day you want me to be. As Noah ran back inside, the dragon lantern fluttered in the breeze. Rachel stood silently, and Carter knew, for the first time, he had a chance. Under a dusty orange sky, Carter parked his car half a block from the community center. He walked the rest of the way, no suit, no staff, just a man carrying a pizza box in one hand and a nervous hope in the other. Inside, the place buzzed with laughter. A group of kids sat on the floor, folding colored paper, whispering secrets and dreams. A woman played guitar in the corner while lanterns dangled from the ceiling like stars caught in netting. Rachel spotted him first. Twice in 2 days, she said, arms crossed, but her voice had softened. I come bearing peace offerings, Carter said, holding up the pizza. Rachel arched a brow. Is it plain cheese? And 1 pepperoni. I figured we could settle the great topping debate another day. She shook her head, but the corner of her mouth lifted. Fine, put it on the table. As Carter set the box down, a blur darted toward him. Hey, you came! Noah beamed. His hands were smudged with glue and glitter. Want to see what I made? Definitely, Carter said, kneeling. Noah held up a lantern, half sun, half moon. I call it eclipse. It's for people who feel stuck between things. Carter blinked. You made that? Yep, Noah said, proud. It's kind of like how I feel sometimes. Carter glanced at Rachel. She looked away. I don't know where I belong yet, Noah said quietly, but maybe this helps. Carter swallowed hard. That's beautiful, Noah. The boy shrugged, bashful now. I made one for you too. From under the table he pulled a red lantern with Carter's initials folded subtly into one panel. I thought maybe if you lit this one, your wish would come true. Carter looked at it like it was made of glass. Thank you. I don't even know what to say. Say, you'll come back next week, Noah said, grinning. We're making ones that float on water. I'll be here, Carter promised. Later, as the kids left in waves, Rachel lingered by the folding chairs. Carter helped stack them. You really want to do this? She asked. Show up. Try. I do, he said. Why now? Because I lost time I didn't know I had, and I'm done letting other people decide what I care about. She nodded slowly. I see him in you, the way he lights up around you. It scares me. Me too, Carter admitted. She glanced at the red lantern in his hand. He made that with his whole heart. I won't break it, Carter said, voice steady. I swear. Just then, Noah ran up, holding a crumpled drawing. Wait, I almost forgot. I drew this. He unfolded it. A stick figure boy, a taller man, a woman beside them, underneath a sky full of floating lanterns. That's us, Noah said. One day, I want to light them all. Together. Rachel knelt beside him, her hand brushing his curls. Carter looked at the drawing, then at them. We will, he whispered. We'll get there. That night, Carter placed the red lantern beside the one from the festival, the glow of both warming the hotel suite like soft memory. He stared at the drawing, now pinned above his desk. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And it was his. Carter leaned back in the booth of a quiet diner just off Fremont Street. It was Sunday afternoon, and the noise of the Strip felt far away. He stirred his coffee without sipping it. Across from him sat Rachel, hands wrapped around a paper cup, her expression unreadable. He broke the silence. "Do you remember that night in San Diego? On the pier?" Rachel's lips twitched. "The carousel broke down. We ate corn dogs on the boardwalk instead. You told me you never wanted to raise a child around suits and secrets," Carter said softly. "I didn't realize how much I'd become both." Rachel looked away. "We were young. I never wanted to make you choose. But I should have." She finally met his eyes. "Why are you doing this, Carter? Really?" He hesitated. "Because I see pieces of myself in Noah, but better. And because when he gave me that lantern, when he called me back, I felt something I haven't felt in years." Rachel didn't reply right away. The silence wasn't cold, just cautious. "I want to earn his trust," Carter said. "Yours, too. But I get that it's going to take time." A soft voice interrupted them. "Hey," Noah said, approaching with paint on his fingers. "Mom, look what I made." He held out a tiny lantern, half-painted, a little lopsided, but bright with effort. A string of tiny letters ran around the rim. "Believe in second chances." Rachel smiled and brushed his hair back. "It's beautiful, baby." Carter leaned closer. "Can I see?" Noah handed it over. "It's for the festival next month. Ms. Tanya said we could all hang ours on the city bridge." He looked between them. "Maybe we could do one together?" Rachel's eyes flicked toward Carter. He didn't hesitate. "I'd love that." Later that evening, Carter sat alone in his suite, lanterns from Noah's workshop scattered across his table. He held the one with the tiny letters, "Believe in second chances." His fingers traced the words as he thought of everything he'd missed. He picked up his phone, tapped a number. "Hey, it's me," he said when it went to voicemail. "I want to reschedule the Tokyo deal. No, cancel it for now. Something's come up." He hung up before he could talk himself out of it. The next morning, he walked into the community center with a box tucked under his arm. Rachel looked up from a clipboard. "What's this?" "A proposal," Carter said, "for a permanent lantern program. Materials, instructor stipends, city permits. I already set up the foundation. It's funded. Fully." Rachel stared at him. "You can call the shots," Carter added. "I'm just the silent supporter." She opened the box. Inside were supply sheets, building sketches, even a logo, Noah's Light. Her voice was low. "You did all this since yesterday?" He smiled faintly. "I've always moved fast when it mattered." Noah ran in a minute later holding another lantern. "Look, I fixed the crooked part." Carter crouched. "You did. It looks perfect." Rachel closed the box gently. "We'll talk." That night, Carter placed the new lantern beside the others, his office dimly lit by their glow. He turned to the framed drawing Noah had made, the three of them under a sky of lanterns. A small addition had been taped to the corner, a cutout moon drawn with a smiling face. In small handwriting it read, "For when it gets dark again." Carter pressed a hand to his chest. He wasn't there yet, but he was getting closer. The morning sun filtered through dusty blinds in Rachel's small kitchen. The smell of cinnamon toast drifted through the air. Noah sat at the table, carefully folding a square of yellow paper into the base of a lantern. Carter leaned against the doorway, coffee in hand, watching. "Fold here," Noah said to himself. "Crease there." "You're getting faster," Carter said, smiling. Noah shrugged, eyes focused. "Made 4 before school yesterday. Sold 3. Carter stepped closer. "I was thinking, what if we made one together for the Bridge Festival? You pick the colors, I fold." Noah grinned. "Deal. But I still get to draw the wish." Rachel entered, tying her hair up. "Don't forget your jacket, Noah," It's windy today." "Got it," he said, grabbing it from the back of his chair. "Bye, Mom. Bye, Carter." As he ran out of the door, Carter looked at her. "You didn't correct him." Rachel poured herself coffee. "He's 9. If I told him you weren't staying, it'd break something I've worked hard to protect." "I'm not leaving," Carter said quietly. "Not again." She leaned against the counter, studying him. "He believes you, but I'm still watching." Later that day, Carter sat in the Mariposa boardroom, stiff in his suit, across from Susan. She tapped her nails on the glossy table. "You've been skipping morning briefings. Your Tokyo partners are calling." Carter met her gaze. "I'm reallocating." "To what? Crafts and glue sticks?" "To my son," he said firmly. "His name is Noah." Susan's smile vanished. "I know what you did, Susan. I know about the letters, the lies." She sat back slowly. "You've built an empire, Carter. I only kept you from making a mistake." "Losing Rachel wasn't a mistake," he snapped. "It was theft. And that boy out there, he's the best thing I never knew I had." She crossed her arms. "What now? You play family man in the press? Parade your little charity around town?" "It's not for show," he said. "It's for him. For me." Susan stood. "You're risking everything. Our brand." "No," he said, rising. "I'm reclaiming something more important than branding." She stared at him, something cold shifting behind her eyes. "You always had a weakness for nostalgia." "That boy's not nostalgia," Carter said, voice low. "He's my future." He left before she could respond. That evening, he returned to the community center. Noah was already there, lantern pieces spread across the floor. Rachel was helping a little girl glue star stickers onto a pink one. Carter sat beside Noah. "What's our color?" "Orange and silver," Noah said, pointing. "Sunset and starlight. You start folding, I'll prep the edges." As they worked, Rachel watched. Her eyes lingered not just on Carter, but how he looked at their son, like he was building more than a lantern. Noah held up a Sharpie. "Write something inside before we close it." Carter hesitated, then wrote, "I won't miss another year." He passed it back. Noah nodded approvingly. "Now it's got power." Rachel sat beside them. "He's never done this with anyone but me." "I'm honored," Carter said. The lantern, now sealed, glowed faintly as they set it under a desk lamp. It wasn't perfect. One corner leaned, but it stood. Rachel touched Carter's arm. "He's happier." "I am too," Carter whispered. But in the shadows of the parking lot, a figure watched from behind the wheel of a black sedan, Susan's driver. She dialed. "He's getting in deeper, with both of them." A pause. Then a cold reply. "We'll fix that." Quietly. Back inside, Noah pointed at the glowing lantern. "We should name it." Carter smiled. "Got one?" "Yeah," Noah said proudly. "Let's call it Hope." It was Saturday morning when Carter returned to the community center, hands full of takeout boxes and a folded tarp under one arm. The courtyard buzzed with kids, chatter, and the sharp smell of glue sticks. Overhead, string lights flickered to life in the daylight. Noah's idea. Rachel met him at the gate. "You're early," she said. Carter smiled. "You're surprised?" She gave a half laugh. "You've changed." "I'm trying," he said, setting down the food. "Got lunch for everyone. And that tarp? It's for lantern drying. Noah said glitter takes forever to set." Just then, the boy himself appeared, waving a green paper lantern high over his head. "Look what I made, Dad." Carter froze, again, not from shock this time, but from how easily the word had landed. Rachel stiffened beside him, unsure whether to correct it. But Carter just knelt down and smiled. "I love the color. What's it called?" "Spring Hope," Noah beamed. "It's for new starts." Carter ruffled his hair. "That's perfect." Rachel watched silently as her son glowed under Carter's praise. Later that afternoon, Carter pulled Rachel aside while the kids painted lanterns shaped like stars and birds. "I've been thinking," he began. "What if we found a bigger space? Something permanent? With heat, storage, maybe a classroom?" Rachel frowned. "Carter, it's already a lot you've done. I don't want this to be about showing off." "It's not," he said quickly. "It's about Noah. About every kid who shows up here hoping for something small to believe in." He pulled a folder from his bag. Inside were photos of a vacant lot 3 blocks over, next to a shuttered school. "We could build something lasting," he said. "A home for light." Rachel looked at the photos, her guard slowly cracking. Before she could answer, Tanya, one of the staff volunteers, ran up. "Rachel, there's someone here asking about you. Says she's family." Rachel's brows pinched. "Who?" But Carter already knew. They turned to the entrance, and there stood Susan, dressed in black like she was arriving at a funeral. Carter stepped forward. "What are you doing here?" Susan didn't look at him. Her eyes were on Rachel. "I came to talk. Alone." Rachel crossed her arms. "We've said enough." Susan's voice hardened. "You're making a mistake letting him back in." Rachel laughed, bitter. "You mean the mistake you made for both of us?" Carter stepped between them. "Leave, Susan." "You think this ends with glitter and folded paper?" she snapped. "You're risking the hotel, your legacy, everything we built." "No," Carter said calmly. "You risked it when you lied, when you stole a decade of my life." Susan's face didn't change. "You're not built for this kind of family life, Carter. You burn too fast." Rachel's voice cut through. "Then it's a good thing Noah takes after me." Susan turned. Fury, barely masked. "You'll regret this." But Carter didn't respond. He simply took Rachel's hand. Susan left without another word. That night, as the sun dipped low, Carter and Noah sat side by side on the curb outside the center, watching the last lanterns dry in rows. Noah leaned his head on Carter's arm. "Is it okay I called you Dad?" he asked softly. Carter's throat tightened. He looked down at the boy, at his own reflection in those eyes. "It's more than okay," he said. "It's the best thing I've heard in years." Noah smiled. "Good, 'cause I've been wanting to say it." They sat there until the last bit of light slipped below the rooftops. And, for once, Carter wasn't afraid of the dark. Carter stood on the edge of the vacant lot he planned to turn into the permanent lantern space. The air smelled of dust and wildflowers. He held the new architectural sketches in one hand and a red lantern in the other, Noah's latest, shaped like a phoenix. Rachel joined him, her sneakers crunching over the gravel. "You're really doing this." "I am," Carter said. "This place, it's going to glow, day and night." She glanced at the sketches. "You even thought about rainwater drainage." "I did my homework," he smiled. But his phone buzzed. It was Marcus, his CFO. Carter hesitated, then answered. "Carter," Marcus said quickly, "we've got a problem. That community lot, it's been flagged." "Flagged how?" "There's a lien filed this morning on behalf of a shell corporation. They're blocking permits." Carter's jaw tightened. "Who filed it?" "Company's fake, but the law firm? Tied to Susan." Carter's heart sank. Rachel watched him hang up, already sensing the shift. "What happened?" "She's trying to shut it down," he said. Quietly, through legal back doors. Rachel looked away. "I knew she wasn't finished." "She's scared," Carter said. "Scared I'll stop needing her. Scared I'll build something without her name on it." Rachel shook her head. "This isn't business. It's personal. She doesn't want you to have us." Carter exhaled. "Then we fight." Back at the Mariposa, Carter stormed into the executive suite. Susan was at his desk, flipping through one of the hotel's expansion reports. "You forged a lien against the community lot," he said, tossing the documents on the table. She didn't flinch. "You're gambling everything on a child you barely know." Carter stepped closer. "He's my child, and what I'm building with him is more real than anything we've stacked in glass and stone." Susan's voice dropped. "I gave up everything to protect your career." "No," Carter said firmly. "You built your legacy using my silence." He pointed at the Phoenix lantern, now resting on his desk. That's what I'm protecting now." She looked at it, and for once her voice cracked. "And what am I supposed to be, Carter? Just the sister who disappears?" "No," he said softer. "You're the sister who still has time to make things right. But not like this." Susan stood there, still, then turned away. Carter left without another word. That evening, he met Rachel and Noah at the community center. The boy ran up, holding a tiny bag. "I made something," Noah said, "for our new place, even if it's not built yet." Pulled out a tiny folded paper sculpture, half lantern, half house. On the front, he had written in bright crayon, "A light for us." Rachel blinked hard. Carter knelt. "That's amazing." Noah nodded. "You can keep it, but only if you promise not to give up." Carter hugged him. "I promise." He slipped the paper house into his coat pocket like treasure. Later that night, as Carter sat alone in his suite, the lights of Vegas blinking beyond the windows, he placed the paper sculpture beside the Phoenix lantern. He stared at them both, lit only by their reflection in the glass. Susan had drawn battle lines. But Carter had a purpose now, a family, and a light he refused to let go dark. The morning sun poured through the tall windows of Carter's office. For once, he wasn't behind his desk reviewing contracts. Instead, he stood at the window, cradling Noah's paper house in one hand, a cup of untouched coffee in the other. His assistant stepped in. "Sir, the Tokyo team's here for the video call." Carter didn't turn. "Cancel it." She hesitated. "Sir, this is a $20 million partnership." "I said cancel it," Carter replied, voice calm but firm. "Tell them I'm attending to something more important." After she left, Carter walked to his desk and opened a leather folder. Inside were the final city permit forms for the Lantern Workshop site. All he needed to do was sign. He picked up the pen. Then the phone rang. It was Rachel. "Noah's sick," she said quickly. "Fever, throwing up. He didn't want me to call you, but I'm on my way." Carter dropped everything and was out the door in seconds. When he arrived at Rachel's apartment, Noah was curled on the couch under a blanket, his cheeks flushed. "I'm fine," the boy mumbled, clearly not fine. Carter knelt beside him. "You look like a melted crayon, buddy." Noah cracked a smile. "Do crayons throw up?" Rachel hovered in the background, worried. "I gave him meds. Doctor said it's a virus going around." Carter sat with Noah, hand resting gently on the boy's back. "How about we build a mini lantern right here, just with pencils and dreams?" Noah nodded, then groaned. "Maybe tomorrow." Carter looked at Rachel. "Let me stay with him. You've barely slept." She paused, then nodded. "Okay." As Rachel rested, Carter read to Noah from a wrinkled picture book. Every few pages, Noah dozed off. Carter kept reading anyway. That night, Carter slept on the floor beside the couch. The boy's soft breathing was the only sound. At 2 a.m., Noah stirred. "Dad?" Carter jolted awake. "I'm here." "I had a dream," Noah whispered. "You missed the festival." "I won't," Carter whispered back. "Not ever again." 2 days later, Noah was better. Carter returned to the hotel, only to find a private investigator waiting in the lobby. The man handed him a sealed envelope. "Thought you'd want this, Mr. Dean." Inside were photos, blurry shots of Susan meeting with city lawyers, one man clearly slipping her files. One file had a sticky note that read, "Delay his permits. Quietly. Buy time." Beneath it, a typed message. "Dean's project cannot launch without city approval." Carter's chest tightened. So it wasn't just a lien. Susan had planted someone. He clutched the photos, fury simmering. But then he looked at the lantern Noah had made, the one labeled Spring Hope. It sat on the corner of his desk, soft glow beneath its creased edges. He exhaled. Not rage. Resolve. That evening, Carter walked back into the community center. Rachel was setting up chairs for an art night. "I know what Susan did," he said. "She didn't just file a lien. She's bribing a city official to stall permits." Rachel tensed. "What are you going to do?" Carter's answer was simple. "Beat her. Not in court, in public." He pulled a rolled banner from his coat, unfurled it on the table. A hand-drawn logo in bold colors. Lantern Night, for every kid who ever felt left in the dark. "We'll throw our own festival," Carter said. "Permits or not, on the sidewalk, in the park, wherever they'll let us stand." Rachel's eyes softened. "You'd really do all that?" He nodded. "I already skipped Tokyo. I'm not skipping this." From the corner, Noah chimed in. "I'll make the biggest lantern we've ever made." Carter smiled. "And I'll help you light it." Because for the first time in his life, Carter Dean wasn't chasing power. He was holding it, in the form of a little boy's trust. And he wouldn't let go. The Saturday before the festival, the community center buzzed with kids and volunteers. Lanterns hung like floating dreams from ceiling beams and folding ladders. Paintbrushes clattered, music played from a portable speaker, and in the middle of it all, Carter, on his knees, helping Noah tape down the edge of a 20-foot banner. Rachel stepped out of the kitchen with lemonade. "He's actually sweating," she joked. Carter glanced up, grinning. "Manual labor builds character." Noah held up a finished lantern, bright blue with gold stars. "This one's for you." Carter took it, careful not to smudge the paint. "It's amazing." Noah smiled shyly. "I wrote something inside, like you do." Carter opened the flap. In messy handwriting, "I'm glad you came back." Rachel saw it too. She blinked fast and turned away. Later, as the sun dropped behind the city skyline, Carter stood alone in the courtyard, holding the lantern under the fading light. He placed it gently beside the others, then exhaled slowly. The warmth he felt wasn't just the Vegas heat. It was something deeper, something he thought he'd forfeited years ago. The next morning, Carter walked into his office to find an envelope on his desk. Unmarked, slid under the door. He opened it. Inside was a single photo. Susan, meeting with the city's deputy inspector, and a typed note. Ask her why Noah's permit was rejected. Carter's hands clenched. The picture was date-stamped, 1 week before the city's sudden refusal to approve the workshop site. He drove straight to his sister's condo. Susan opened the door, still in silk pajamas. "You're early." Carter held up the photo. "You lied to me. Again." She didn't even look surprised. "You left me no choice." "He's a child, Susan," Carter said, voice rising. "You sabotaged his future." "I protected yours," she snapped. "The board's watching. Our investors need stability. What they don't need is headlines about a CEO playing house with some craft table." Carter shook his head. "You don't see it, do you? I'm not building lanterns for publicity. I'm rebuilding a life I lost. Because of you." Susan narrowed her eyes. "You were weak back then. Falling for someone without status, getting her pregnant. You would have ruined everything." Carter stepped closer, eyes burning. "You didn't just protect me. You rewrote my story. Tore up letters, hid the truth, lied." She crossed her arms. "So, what now? You walk away from it all?" "I walk toward something better," he said. "And if the board doesn't like it, they can fire me." Susan stared at him, silent. But Carter didn't wait for her reply. That night, Rachel opened her apartment door to find Carter standing there, lantern in hand. "This is for you," he said. The lantern was delicate, with the soft brush strokes of lavender and gray, and a single phrase written across the middle. "Thank you for raising our son into someone brave enough to love." Rachel read it once, then again. Her voice shook. "You made this?" He nodded. "I thought about giving up," she whispered, "for a long time." "You didn't," Carter said, "and because of that, I get a second chance." She stepped aside, letting him in. Noah ran out in pajama pants, holding a string of fairy lights. "Dad, can we hang these outside for the festival?" Carter looked at Rachel. She nodded. "Yeah, buddy," Carter said, kneeling. "Let's make the porch glow." As the three of them knelt under the soft hum of dusk, Carter wrapped the lights around the railing. He glanced over at the lantern Noah had made him, the one that said, "I'm glad you came back," now glowing softly from the windowsill. Rachel stepped beside him, her voice low. "He's not the only one." Carter turned to her, and for the first time in years, the space between them felt like home. Carter stood on the wooden stage built from old shipping pallets, staring out at the crowd gathered on the empty lot, now transformed with string lights, hand-painted banners, and hundreds of glowing lanterns swaying on bamboo poles. Kids from every block in the neighborhood were there, holding their own creations. Some lanterns were shaped like stars, others like fish, hearts, rockets. Hope floated in paper form. Rachel stood to the side with Noah, who wore a red vest he'd decorated himself with gold sequins. He bounced in place, lantern clutched tight in both hands. Carter stepped to the microphone. "3 weeks ago," he began, "a boy handed me a lantern on a dark corner. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was mine." He looked at Noah, who gave a proud, silent nod. "But when he looked at me and said, 'Dad, light it,' something inside me changed." The crowd hushed. The only sound was the rustle of paper lanterns in the wind. "I didn't just find a son. I found a chance to be someone better than I'd been. A chance to light something. For real." He lifted the small lantern Noah had given him days earlier, the one with "I'm glad you came back" written inside. "I'm lighting this not for show, but for every kid who ever felt unseen, every parent who thought they were too late." He struck the lighter. The flame caught gently. Cheers erupted. After the speech, Carter stepped down. Noah raced up, grinning. "You remembered how to light it." Carter chuckled. "Barely. I was shaking the whole time." "Good thing I taught you," Noah said proudly. Rachel joined them. "He's been practicing that speech in the mirror, you know." Carter raised an eyebrow. "Really?" "Only 100 times," she smirked. They turned as a group of reporters approached. "Mr. Dean, is it true you're building a permanent space for lantern making?" Carter nodded. "It's true. And you're funding it yourself?" "I'm not just funding it," Carter said. "I'm naming it after the one who started all this." He turned to Noah, placing a hand on his shoulder. "It'll be called the Noah Dean Lantern House." Noah's jaw dropped. "Wait, what? Like me?" "Like exactly you," Carter said. "This wouldn't exist without you." Tears filled Rachel's eyes. She reached out and gently squeezed Carter's hand. Another reporter shouted, "What about the hotel? Rumors say you're stepping back." Carter faced them calmly. "I'm stepping forward, into something more meaningful." As dusk deepened, Carter walked the edges of the festival. He paused at one lantern shaped like a tree, its leaves cut from green napkins. A girl, about 7, stood near it, hands clasped. "My mom says we can't afford real lights at home," she said softly. Carter knelt. "This one's brighter than any light I've ever seen." She smiled, cheeks flushed with pride. "It's called the Dream Tree." Carter nodded. "Perfect name." He looked out across the lot. Lanterns swayed like breathing stars. Noah ran up, carrying something in both hands. "Dad," he said breathlessly, "I made you one more." It was a tall lantern, shaped like a tower, with small windows and a rooftop flame drawn in marker. Carter turned it in his hands. On one side, even strong towers need a light inside. He stared at it, then at Noah, then hugged him tight. "I'll never let it go out," he whispered. Noah nodded into his shoulder. "I know." And just like that, Carter realized he wasn't just lighting lanterns. He was becoming one. Rain pattered gently against the Carter's hotel window as he studied the printed email. Subject line: City Permit Rejection Appeal. Internal block flagged. Below it, a single name stood out, an assistant city planner Carter had never heard of. But the sender was clear: referred by Susan Dean's office, authorized by corporate counsel. He sank into his leather chair, heart pounding. It wasn't just Susan who filed the lien. She paid someone to make Noah disappear from the system. A quiet knock interrupted his thoughts. Rachel stepped in, holding a thermos of cocoa. "You missed dinner." "I know," Carter said, voice distant. "Can you sit?" She placed the thermos down and took the chair across from him. "What's wrong?" Carter handed her the paper. "It's worse than I thought." Rachel read it. Her jaw tightened. "She bought a city official?" He nodded. "To stall permits, to keep Noah out of my life." Silence hung between them. "She didn't just tear letters," Rachel whispered. "She erased him." Carter leaned forward. "I have to confront her. Publicly." Rachel reached across the desk, placing her hand over his. "Do it. But not for revenge. Do it for Noah." The next day, Carter called a board meeting at the Mariposa. Executives, attorneys, and Susan herself gathered in the polished boardroom. He walked in last, a lantern in hand. "This," he said, holding it up, "is what matters now." Susan smirked. "That's a craft project, not a legacy." Carter set the lantern down on the conference table. "It's a legacy when it saves lives, when it gives forgotten kids a voice." He tossed the evidence file onto the table. "Attached are emails and financial transfers showing Susan paid a city planner to delay a community permit tied to my son." The room went dead silent. Susan tried to recover. "That's circumstantial. I've already turned it over to city ethics," Carter said. "You won't be the face of this company anymore." She stood, eyes wide. "You'd destroy your own family?" "You did that when you destroyed mine," he replied. Then Carter turned to the board. "I'm stepping down as CEO." Gasps filled the room. He continued. "Effective immediately. I'm building something else now, something brighter." He picked up the lantern and walked out, leaving the silence behind him. That night, back at Rachel's apartment, Carter knocked gently on Noah's door. "Hey, buddy, can I come in?" Noah looked up from his drawing pad. "Yeah." Carter sat beside him. "I quit my job today." Noah blinked. "Why?" "Because I want to be where you are." Noah smiled, quiet, then pulled something from under his pillow, a folded paper, his latest design, a small lantern with cutouts shaped like stars and one tiny doorway. He handed it over. "This one's for when you get lost." Carter unfolded it slowly. Inside, written in red marker, "You're already home." He looked at Noah, then pulled him into a tight hug. Rachel stood in the doorway, watching, tears in her eyes. Outside, the rain had stopped. The city lights shimmered off puddles in the street. Carter stepped out onto the porch, lantern in hand. He lit the candle inside, watched it glow. Susan had tried to control everything: his career, his image, even his family. But she couldn't control the light, especially not this one. And as the flame flickered behind the paper walls, Carter realized his redemption wasn't about grand gestures or flashy speeches. It was about holding steady, about showing up, and never, ever letting the light go out again. The following week, Carter stood in the middle of an old downtown lot, gravel, weeds, and busted fencing. But to him, it looked like a blank page. Behind him, Noah kicked a pebble and pointed. "That corner gets good sun. We could do glass there." Rachel grinned. "Listen to the architect." Carter crouched down beside his son. "What would you build here?" Noah didn't hesitate. "A big open space, tables, paint everywhere, and a wall of lanterns, one for every kid." Carter nodded slowly. "Then that's what we'll build." The community backed it instantly. With Carter's funding and Noah's vision, volunteers showed up daily. Teachers, neighbors, even former hotel staff who'd once reported to Carter in suits. They painted walls in bright colors, installed paper storage bins and low workbenches. One woman donated string lights from her wedding. A retired carpenter built cubbies from leftover hotel crates. Kids who'd once wandered alleys now crowded around glue guns and paint trays, making paper birds, castles, rockets. And lanterns. Dozens of them. Noah was everywhere, teaching folds, tying wire, showing kids how to balance color and shape. He wore a green apron that read "Light Maker." Rachel watched from the corner, pride softening her eyes. "He's got your focus," she said to Carter one evening, wiping paint off her jeans. Carter smiled. "He's got your courage." A week before the grand opening, Carter unveiled the final piece, a wide archway above the entrance, carved from polished oak. Across the top, the lantern house, and below it, etched by hand, "Let every child's light be seen." When Noah saw it, he stopped talking mid-sentence. He walked to the arch slowly, touched the lettering, then looked back at his dad. "You really did it." Carter crouched, resting a hand on Noah's shoulder. "We did it." On opening day, families packed the sidewalks. Music played from a small stage. A taco truck parked near the alley. Kids ran between hanging lanterns, laughing. Carter stood by the door, wearing the same green apron as Noah. "Mr. Dean?" A reporter approached. "Why lanterns?" Carter gestured to the glowing shapes swaying in the breeze. "Because they're small, fragile, and still, they light the dark." The reporter tilted her head. "And what about your hotel empire?" "I traded one empire for something brighter," Carter said. "This one doesn't need boardrooms." As dusk approached, Noah ran up, tugging Carter's sleeve. "Dad, come quick!" He followed him to the back wall, where dozens of lanterns lined a high shelf. Noah pulled down a boxy one painted in blue and silver. "This one's yours," he said. Carter turned it slowly in his hands. It had a paper window, and behind it, a drawing. Him and Noah sitting on the curb, lantern between them. And, beneath it, the words. "You showed up." That lit everything. Carter's throat tightened. He glanced at Rachel, who stood quietly nearby. She nodded once. "It's true." That night, as the last of families drifted home and the festival lights dimmed, Carter sat on the curb with Rachel and Noah, just like in the drawing. Noah leaned against his side, lantern in his lap. Rachel rested her hand lightly on Carter's. He looked up at the newly painted sign above the door, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man fixing his past. He felt like someone building the future, one glowing lantern at a time. The final night of the Lantern Festival had arrived. Carter stood beneath a glowing canopy of paper and light, the air humming with laughter, soft music, and the rustling of dozens of handmade lanterns swaying from poles. Kids raced through the open lot, waving lanterns like kites. Parents huddled with cocoa, watching their children shine. The entire block had become something sacred, colorful, flickering, alive. Carter turned, and there they were, Noah and Rachel, walking toward him slowly. Noah carried a lantern he had saved for last. It was the biggest one yet, painted with a golden skyline and a single red heart hovering over a tiny house. On the back, written in crayon, "For the day we all came home." Rachel smiled. "He's been working on that for weeks." Carter swallowed. "It's beautiful." Noah held it up. "Dad, light it." The same words that had stopped Carter's world just weeks ago. But now, Carter's hands didn't tremble. He struck the lighter, cupped the flame, and lit the lantern's base. The flame flickered, caught, and glowed. Together, the three of them walked to the center of the lot, where a tall wooden platform stood ready. Dozens of families gathered around. Carter turned to the crowd. "We built this place together. Tonight, we light the last lantern for every story that began in the dark, but didn't end there." He stepped back as Noah climbed the platform, holding the glowing lantern high. Everyone counted down. 3, 2, 1. Noah let go. The lantern rose, rising slowly into the starlit sky. Then another lifted, then another, dozens, then hundreds, red, yellow, silver, blue, lanterns of every shape and story, each one floating higher than the last. Rachel slipped her hand into Carter's. "You really did it." He turned to her, eyes soft. "No, we did." Noah ran back to them, breathless. "Did you see it go up? It flew so high." Carter dropped to one knee and hugged him tight. "So did you, kiddo." As the lanterns disappeared into the sky, the glow of the lot turned golden. The music softened. Parents gathered their kids, but no one left just yet. Because something had changed. Not just in Carter, not just in Rachel, not just in one boy who made lanterns on street corners, but in the whole community, drawn together by light, by stories, by one family choosing to heal in the open. Carter looked up, watching the last lantern vanish into the clouds. He smiled. Because for the first time in years, he wasn't chasing success. He was standing in the middle of something real, something glowing, something home. And the light, it didn't just belong to him anymore, it belonged to all of them.